Hey everyone, welcome to another podcast. This is the Aquarium Insider Podcast with your host. My name is Dan Connor, and today, super stoked, have my buddy FishyBizz Aquatics here in the building talking about African Cichlids. We're gonna kind of run the gamut, talk about some different tanks, some care, maybe a little bit of breeding tips in there. But man, I'm stoked. It's been man, what a day! Just to even talk today has been crazy. There we go. All right, man. How's it going, man?
What's cracking? What's cracking, Dan? Dan, the man with the master plan. What's cracking, man?
Bro, I ain't got no plans, man. I ain't got no plan. I am just figuring it out as I go. That's it. That's all I got, man. So
Dan's plans are shot.
Oh, they are shot. They are not gonna make it today. Oh man. So for those of you who don't know, I got to meet FishyBizz. We met up at Aquashella this year. I took him around a few places, saw some cool things, and just had an overall great time. So I was like, hey man, we need
sweltering, you guys. Let's not even forget that. First of all, Dan is in Florida. Dan is homegrown.
Yeah.
He's used to the heat. He puts me in a greenhouse where it's even hotter on the inside than it is on the outside. And I didn't think it could get any hotter.
Bro, it's like 100 plus and it's 100% humidity.
So bad.
Not all greenhouses are that hot, but we did not install ventilation fans, and that's the reason. So you're welcome for that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
You just pooped all over it. Way to screw the pooch, Danny.
Oh man, it was a good time though. We did that. Walked the farm, saw some ponds, went in the greenhouses, saw some new fish, and then
first time I've ever been on a fish farm, and it was with you, and it was a great time. And I believe that I made a turkey friend while I was there.
You did.
I think Tom. I think he loves
Tom
me.
the turkey.
Yeah, I think he loved me.
Yeah, he's still there. He still gobbles, and it's like, FishyBizz. That's what he says.
The call and response is better than in the classroom.
It's literally way better. I'm like, please raise your hand. Nope, it's the gobble, man. Every time. Way better. Oh man. All right. So for anybody who may not have seen your channel or know who you are, could you give a little background on fish keeping, what you keep, what you like to keep, how long you've been keeping stuff, I guess, or what do you want to give them?
So FishyBizz Aquatics, it's on YouTube, it's on Instagram, it's on Twitter, it's on Facebook. And I am a high school biology teacher turned fish tuber. Happened because of a dare of one of my students. Student said, if you got on YouTube, what would you be able to share that people would like? And didn't know, but I did keep fish in the classroom. And students would always ask me, you know, how much do we feed? What are you doing now? Or what are you cleaning? Where's the poop go? All of this. What's that? What's that? What is this? And I would just be answering. I was like, you know what? Maybe that's what I'll do a YouTube on. And here I am.
Wow.
So I've been keeping fish, let's see, well over 20 years. But that's stop and go. All right. Everybody, you know, maybe not everybody, but some people kept fish when they were little and they weren't really deemed fish keepers. And then you kind of stop and, you know, you go through high school and you're kicking it and you're trying to go out and kick it and you know, and then you find fish again and then you keep them then. So collectively about 20 years. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
And you asked me what I keep too.
Yes.
Currently or back then or?
Currently. Yeah. What you got now?
So I started off the channel with an African Cichlid tank. And that was before I really knew what African Cichlid was. I just saw a bunch of fish at Walmart when Walmart was selling fish. And I was like, yo, give me those cheap ones right there. Let me get some of those boys. And kind of just watched them, kind of tried to look them up and see if I could match up colors and figure out what they were. And they were definitely just African cichlids. Then started learning more about them, that, 3 different groups of them, and you got peacocks and haps and Mbunas, and then found out a group of them that I really like, which were OB peacocks, and decided to get a tank full of them and see how they interact and see how that works. I had a tank full of Mbuna to see how they interact and how they worked. And so I was an African cichlid fish keeper for a while.
Nice.
So with the channel growing and I started venturing out, just started to keep a couple of Lake Tanganyikan. So I have a compressor sub tank now. When you're an African cichlid fish keeper, you don't really look at small fish. So guppies were African cichlid food, and shrimp were African cichlid food. And
yep.
That is a possible African cichlid food. That's fancy.
Fancy food. No,
so
man.
I got into those now. And so now I have a couple of community tanks with some smaller fish in them.
Nice, man. Nice. Awesome. I like to ask this to everybody that comes on the podcast and kind of give your take. And since I do try to gear a lot of it towards newer hobbyists, newer aquarists, maybe they're new to African cichlids. What is something you would want to tell one of the newcomers about keeping African cichlids? What's like a tip you would like, just one little tip, because we'll have some more as we go through the whole thing.
Well, I just want to say that with African cichlids, you're just going to have to be patient. And it can't be for the faint of heart. African cichlids are by nature, and they don't have to be super aggressive, but they by nature are, I don't even know what the word is, murderous, maybe.
Yeah.
They will be buddy 1 minute, next minute they are fighting for hierarchy. And as long as you know that, there will be a tank boss no matter what you do. It'll be a tank boss until he dies, and then there will be another tank boss to take over. Even if you pull that tank boss out, there will be another that will try to establish dominance. So, it's not for the faint of heart. You might look in there and you see a fish dead. It might not even be because of anything wrong with the tank, just the fact that you have an aggressive tank boss, or somebody was trying to fight for the kingdom and he took an L. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, African cichlids they're just aggressive. You're gonna have to, and I think when you start keeping them, patience is probably the number one thing, and doing a lot of research. I probably mentioned that in almost every podcast. I feel like is doing research when you're keeping Africans. Do a little bit of research, get a little heads up on how aggressive you think those are going to be. Are you going to put in a Mbuna tank, a peacock tank? If you start throwing, like some of those errata cichlids in there and you start mixing them up, those are pretty aggressive fish. So just do a little, I always tell people, do a little bit more research. Make sure you do the best you can with the info you have at your disposal, right? So
Absolutely.
Just some ideas, but I like that, man. So I wanted to go and kind of dive right into like tank setups for African cichlids, and we can break it down by different groups if you want to, or just generally talk about them. So what do you think as far like a tank size? Like if you were going to have an African cichlid tank, what do you think it would be your starter size tank for whatever African cichlid you want to talk about?
Started off with a 55 gallon. And I even think that was kind of small, but to start off with, if you have some juveniles, it'll be fine for them to grow out in. I currently have a 75 gallon, which I think is lovely for an African cichlid tank. Anything smaller than that, you're going to end up having to get a bigger tank anyway. You want these fish to be comfortable, and you want them to be able to grow to their potential. So I would think that you're looking at about, a 5 to 6.5 inch fish in most cases. I keep peacocks now. I've kept Mbuna, which are the smaller of the two groups. Peacock coming in second, and then Haps are probably the longer ones that can probably get to, well over 6, 7.5, maybe 8. So depends on which of those 3 species you are wanting to keep. But I think a 55 gallon, maybe starting off with, but 75 would be ideal.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, you gotta think big picture, where these fish are going to be when they're full grown and how long, if you do everything with end in mind, planning for that, I think 75 makes the most sense for almost any of those African cichlids. And man, some of them get big, man. We pond raise those venustus. So those big old venustus, man, we pull them out of the ponds, man. Those males are massive.
yeah. I didn't even think about putting them in a pond. I just have seen them tank wise, but yeah, you're right.
I mean the ponds we raise them in. Yeah, not like anything like but the big old 25-foot ponds we got out there of them out there. So
yeah.
So in that tank, what's your preference on filtration for this tank setup?
I'm a big hang on the back fan. I have yet to try a canister, but I heard that there is a hang on the back canister filter, and I'm very eager to see if I can get my hands on that.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, I didn't hear about that. I'd like to know about that.
Yeah. But hang on the back, I'm a big proponent of overfiltration, especially for African cichlids. So I have on the back of this 75 a 350 penguin, a 55 tidal. Both of those are well equipped to handle 75-gallon tanks. So I have two big 75-gallon tanks for one 75-gallon, which is already overfiltrating. Yeah. But on top of that, I have 360-gallon sponge filters in the back of the tanks to even more so overfiltrate.
You are not playing around. I was like, oh, he's got the penguin. Oh, he's got he's got 3 other sponge. Okay, all right, man. So you are not going to have any issues with freaking filtration in that thing.
Yeah. It's the Tim Toolman Taylor of filtration.
I like it. Man, that's cool.
And also mainly that's kind of because I like to overstock African cichlid tank too. So right. If you overfiltrate, then you can put more fish in, respectively, than someone who just has one filter on there or something like that. But within respect, you can't go ridiculous because you still got to do your maintenance and everything else still. But yeah.
I like it. Yeah, I definitely, I mentioned that. So I just did a little podcast I'll put out later on filtration. I was like, look, it's all got to depend on how many fish and how big those fish are getting in your aquarium. You want to overstock it, you better overstock your filtration because something's going to give at some level, and you don't want it to be your fish.
Absolutely.
So adding more filtration, that's a lot of filtration. That's awesome. So that's super cool. And this is kind of a random question I was curious about. Do you have a favorite substrate for the cichlids? Like, do you like to put a different kind of gravel or like crushed coral or anything like that up there? I don't know what your water is like, so I don't know if it matters.
Yeah, I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. We have hard water, which most of my cichlids I get from the LFS that have been raised over here, so it's usually all right. But they kick up so much dirt, man. It's weird. I like a pretty tank with nice sand. So, I have a little layer of black sand on the bottom of it. I don't thicken it up too much because they're just going to dig it up anyway and make their little holes there so that they can do their breeding dances and stuff like that. But I have fallen in love with the crushed coral, so I'll do a bed of maybe black sand, and then I'll put some white crushed coral over the top of it and give it that little salt pepper look. That crushed coral also handles your pH for you. So you don't have to worry about those parameters as much either. And it looks good, and it works for them. So either way, they're going to kick it up. So if you did gravel, it'd be fine, but that's sometimes a beast to vacuum sometimes, and they're going to pick that stuff up and spit it across sand, to answer your question. Long story, less long.
No, you're good. You're good. I like that. Yeah, I always kept them in like a crushed coral or I don't know. I like sand tanks. They're a little bit more kind of a pain to deal with. Something a little coarser like the crushed coral or the black sand or whatever. The mix. I've never done the mix like that. That sounds kind of interesting. And then I wanted to kind of lead that into the next sort of topic is water parameters. Like obviously you coming from hard water, you don't have a ton of issues. Do you have to do any type of stabilization during water changes, you think, of any kind, or it's actually pretty straightforward? Do you find them to be hardy or any of the issues like that dealing with water?
I don't really have too many water issues. And like you said, they are pretty hardy. Once they get up in age and stuff like that, and they get used to the water, you're pretty golden. Right now I can pull water out the tap. I can throw in my water conditioner, and then I'll just toss in the water, and they're gravy. They're ready to go. I match the temperature. If I want them to start breeding, I'll throw in cold water, on top to top it off and get them all riled up, which you really don't have to do because they already go for the gusto. So you just kind of match that water temp, and then don't forget your conditioner, and you're good to go.
Yeah, man. I was talking to a few people here, come to our store, or whatever. They're like, "Hey, we want to keep cichlids. We have everything on an RO system. Like, what do we need?" I was like, "Well, first off, like your cichlids are going to have a little higher pH. I mean, you got to have some things in the water, right?" And I actually experimented with using on an RO system. We used Rift Lake salt. I think it's from Seachem, if I'm not mistaken. And it was just a way to bring up the pH, add some more calcium, magnesium to the water, raise the pH a little bit, and it worked out pretty well too. So if you're one of those people that have softer water, you're in Oregon, I think we were there in Oregon, and they had really soft water, like right out the tap. And that was one of the additives I wanted to test out to see if it worked. And it worked pretty good. I mean, I had no issues. It was just an experiment for a short period of time. I didn't run it for years. Here on the farm, we're on a well, so hard water is everything. Alkalinity is high. We don't have to worry about that for cichlids. It's really good for cichlids. And it's hot year round, as Biz will tell you. It's hot. It's going to be hot in December. It's good. It'll matter. January, hot. December, hot. February, you know what? Hot. It just don't matter.
I'll take hot for 100, Alex.
Oh man, hey, you take all the hot down here you want, man. I would give anything for a little relief. That's not hot with steamy rain in the afternoon. It's just like solid for like an hour, and then it's just like a sauna outside. So I'd give a little break from that anytime soon. So anyway,
it's ridiculous. I don't understand how you guys do it. It's ridiculous down there.
A lot of AC, I guess.
I left out of the convention center, and it just smacked me in the face. I just, whoa! And then on top of that, I had my FishyBizz towel. It was wringing wet by the time you took me to the second greenhouse, and we've had many more to go. You know what? I don't want to see what's in this one.
I'm good, man. I'm good. Let me just go to the air conditioned office. Where's that again? Oh. It's over there. Oh, it's not air conditioned either. Oh, all right. All right. Well, let's just go to lunch then.
Oh my God.
Oh man. All right. Let me see. I made some notes so I wouldn't forget to ask you. So yeah, kind of not the substrate, but Décor rocks. How do you just stack them? How do you use anything specific you like? Do you use them in a specific way and then get aggression or anything like what do you do? Anything?
When it comes to Décor?
Yeah, like Décor rocks in a tank.
Well, I've tried several Décor. I've done the $39.99 shipwreck ship at Petco, PetSmart, and threw that in there. I've got two big designer rocks on either side right now. I've got this little tree stump looking thing. They don't care. They really don't. I'm about to revamp this tank. That's why it looks crazy right now. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put like a fake plant in the back, a fake plant in the back of the other one, and maybe like a little centerpiece, because African cichlids like open water. So they do like open water, but they do like to do their business, kind of privately. It's kind of hard to privately do your girl while 30 other fish are swimming by. So they try to make a way, and it works somehow because you always have some holders. But I think less is more when it comes to them. You can do a big rock pile and all of this jazz and stuff like that. They're going to rearrange it. They're going to swim around it. They're going to knock it over. Hopefully they don't bump their eye and now they've got another issue. So you try to keep that middle area open and maybe a little something on the side or kind of in the background for them to kind of go around. And some of the skittish ones that are getting beat up, maybe they can find a little refuge and the bully will pick on somebody else. But I think less is more in this case.
Nice. Yeah, I think having somewhere, especially when you're talking like when you're stocking them pretty full, when you have some places they can kind of go get away from the bully, right? So you can kind of, if they are getting picked on, it's not one fish all the time. It's gonna, disseminate out through the whole group, and then that one can be like, okay, got my butt beat pretty bad today. Let me go hang out over here by that plant or that rock in the back corner. They're away. They can kind of get past that stress level, hopefully, or you can pull them out. Whatever you think you should do, just depends, I guess, on how that's going to go, right? So I like that idea. So if you're listening, thinking about how that's going to go, a lot of open space is great. Having some rock and decor and a little bit here and there to get them so they can get away from that aggression. Definitely going to be required at least a little bit to eliminate those issues, man. Just a lot of issues that they can have. So something to think about for that when you're setting up your tank. And just like I try to tell everybody, try to, make something looks cool that you like, right? Make something looks cool. All I would say is if you're going to, set anything up like that, just make sure it's cohesive enough and the fish look like they're getting along. If it's good, take away. You want to add a little bit more, whatever. But take some stuff and see how it goes, right?
And also to piggyback off of that, it is your tank. You'll have some purists out there that want to make it as natural as possible. And these fish come from Lake Malawi and they're more rock dweller than everything. So you want to have the whole back rocked up and then leave it open. Yeah, but what are the odds of your fish coming straight out of Lake Malawi to your tank? If you're buying them out of LFS, they've been there. They've been grown there. So you can make it whichever way you want it. You want it natural, then, do some research and see what it looks like natural. You want it zany and crazy, go for it and just see how it works for you.
Nice. I like that. Not really a huge question for a lot of tanks, but do you have a preference on lighting for the aquarium? Like, do you have a light brand or a type of light you like to use more than another one?
Whatever's on sale, for real. Those lights are expensive.
Very expensive.
I was able to catch a guy where I saw him at. I think he was at PetSmart or he was getting rid of he was shutting his tanks down, and he was giving away like 2 Marineland lights for like the low for like $40, and they were like the ones that stretch over the 75. And I was nice. I'll take it.
Nice.
And so it's been rocking ever since. So Marineland.
Nice. It looks really well lit up too, and you don't have obviously no plant requirements in that tank, right? So there's none of that. Yeah. So it just looks nicely lit up. I've used current lights before. I used to have some Aqueon modular lights. So the LEDs would come in these bulb strips, and you could add up to 4 per section.
Oh, that's interesting.
It was a really good idea at the time, and I think they might have discontinued the module because I can't hardly find the bulbs anywhere anymore. I still have them. They're actually on a 75 tank in the store, and the bulbs had maybe a half-life. I think it was probably 8 months. Like their brightness just kind of went at it's like a switch turn on boop, all to half power. So they don't light up super well. So it's maybe I'll change out the bulbs. And then the bulbs were very expensive. I want to say each strip was almost $40, $50 a piece, and it would hold 4 of them. I was like, $200. I can go buy a really nice light, for that. Yeah. So, and then I bought some cheaper ones off of Amazon and stuff, some Night Cruise and different ones like that. I've tried them all. for a cichlid tank, I think is just something that illuminates the whole tank is going to be fine. If you can find something with a good deal,
Yeah,
the best route.
I rock out with the LEDs. These go white, and then I flip a switch. They go blue for the nighttime. Your fish, once they get colored up, you're just going to want to illuminate the tank. And then if you don't have any kind of algae eaters and you're not a fan of scraping algae off the daggone, you don't want a whole lot of light on and a whole, the bright, you don't want that whole mess, especially once you see your fish, you're going to see them from wherever you see them at. They're going to be displayed. So
yeah,
light, just get a light.
I like it. Keep it simple. Don't make this complicated for that tank. Don't have to be just something that's going to make over the tank and makes it look nice that you think it looks nice, right?
Facts.
All right. Okay, so a little bit different question than just the set of tanks. So for people wanting to first time keeping Africans, would you recommend them do the Mbuna tanks? Haps. What would you recommend them doing first? What's easier to manage? Easier to take care of, you think?
I would go straight to the Peacocks.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the simple fact that you're going to get a lot of the popping colors that you want, especially in an OB. You're going to be able to get a lot of different OBs with a lot of different colors. And that's what a lot of people really want to see in their tank. So go straight to those guys. But, there are some beautiful Haps and there are some beautiful Mbunas. And I would say Mbunas because they're smaller and you could probably readily get them from anywhere. They're probably going to be a little bit cheaper. But they are just so daggone feisty, man. They're so aggressive. They hate each other all the time. They're like, they're like no friends in that tank.
No.
But they are going to you're going to look in that tank and see something different all the time. It could be a body, but you're going to see a lot of action in that tank. They're going to eat, they're going to swim, they're going to chase, they're going to fight, you're going to see a bunch of stuff. But you'll see that with some of the other ones. The Haps are probably, they could be a good starter fish depending on which ones you get. I love the Maury dolphins. I think they look awesome, but they get big. They'll get that big nuchal hump on them, and they look beautiful. But those are more, a larger species. So depending on your tank size. But if you're going to start off, I like the Peacocks. I like the Peacocks. They're semi-aggressive. They're beautiful. 5 to 6 inch worth of fish. You overfiltrate, then you can stock up. And even though you'll still catch them, getting their fight on, for the most part, they're all right. They're all right. I would like to see that if you're going to jump into Africans, a nice little Peacock tank. Maybe throw in a couple of peaceful Haps. I would say a peaceful Mbuna, but I don't know which ones those are except for the yellow labs. Those are beautiful fish. They're pretty peaceful. I don't know how they got into the Mbuna catalog, but they're awesome fish.
They're really nice.
Bright yellow. So you could throw some different colors in there and just try it out. And then you might do your own thing and it works. Some people do it and it just works.
Yeah, man. I think it's a good point as far as getting something that's maybe you have two options, right? You can do the Mbunas, you can get them smaller. They're probably a little bit more cost effective, but it's going to be a learning curve of who's going to fight who, because that's going to happen. And what makes them not fight? Do I need to increase structure here? Do I need to add something different over here? Do I need to feed more over there? Is one fish just going to ruin my whole tank and I need to figure how that guy's going to deal with it, right?
Absolutely.
Or do you go to something that, like a Peacock where they're still going to be aggressive, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
Right? They're still going to be aggressive. Still, you could have a real big tank boss that's going to be nasty and picking on one fish, but if your tank's set up properly, hopefully it, disseminates more and it's not one fish that's just all up in the corner, looks like it's going to die. You're like, oh crap, I got to pull him out, make sure he's okay, little bit different setup, but it's just got to figure out what makes more sense, right? Starting all up, and then I wanted to ask this kind of more open question, kind of leading from that. So you answered kind of a little bit, but if you're setting up brand new 75-gallon tank, how how do you go and what's your thought process for stocking the tank? Like, what do you think through? I'm like, all right, I want to set this tank up. What are some of the thought processes behind that? So people can be like, oh, that's this is what I should look into, and this is a good idea to, replicate. I don't know. What do you think?
It's funny because I almost end up getting fish first and then forcing myself to set a tank up. Which is, you walk into a store and you'll be like, I gotta have that fish like today, right now. And then you're like, wait a minute, I even have a place to put that fish? I gotta set up a whole nother tank. So, if you're gonna set, you always gotta have a tank ready and cycle just in case that happens. So, but you definitely want to think about how many fish you're gonna end up wanting to get. Determining on the size of your tank. So you want to go, going bigger with African cichlids is never wrong in this case. And then when it comes to stocking, for me, I love colorful fish. I love colors. Okay, so it's not even a I don't even have to think about it. I go OB. Peacock cichlids. I look at your channel. I looked in your store. You get some beautiful OBs in. Every time I look at your tank, I'm like, I gotta have that purplish one, and I gotta have that reddish blue one, and that yellow and blue one has got to come with me because that will make my tank pop. And so when I think about a 75-gallon tank, I'm thinking OB cichlids. I'm thinking of popping colors there. I could throw a Mbunas in there, which will give me the greenish, yellowish vibe. I could throw some yellow labs in there, which will give me the bright yellow pop. And I start thinking of contrasting colors. And I'm probably going to put a black back on that tank so you can really see the colors. You don't get deep through the tank. I'll have a black sand. And I'll probably have a little crushed coral either mixed in, depends. But if I have a black background and I have black sand, guarantee I'm going to have some brightly colored fish in there. And I might put the crushed coral in my filters since I have hang on the backs and just let the filters flow with that pH balancer in the crushed coral. That way I can keep everything black in the tank. And then you see those yellows pop and you'll see those greens pop and those red and blues pop. And those yellow and blues pop, and those oranges pop. So that's where I'm at with it. It's colors. It's got to be a popping color.
Yeah, man. So, I think a lot of people take that approach. I think it's a good approach. I think you want something you're going to enjoy. You want to look at it.
Yeah.
Something with a lot of color is going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to look at, fun to watch. You're going to see them feed. Oh my God! And just videoing all that massive color, right? Yeah, essentially, I just picture it. It's awesome. Yeah, that's great. And I think,
I have not done a species only tank.
Really?
And I was thinking about maybe doing that. I've seen John's for KG Tropicals yellow lab tank. It's got like 60 yellow labs in a 120 gallon or something like that. Or it's probably bigger than that. But to see all those yellow labs just flow through the tank, it's beautiful. I would love to do that with Maury dolphins, and I would get the blue Mauries, and I would probably get a couple of albino Mauries in there just to break the color up. But seeing those blue dolphin colored Maury dolphins go through a tank, it's very cool looking.
Same. But, that's actually interesting.
Yeah. So. But I've never done it before. I've never kept just one fish before. I've never kept just a flower horn or an Oscar in a tank by himself. Excuse me, and just watch them grow.
I went through at my old house. I went through a Tropheus phase. So I've kept species only, but I did it for Tropheus. So I kept the Duboisi Maswas when they were tiny and got them up bigger. Nice. And all I did was I had a 75. I kept the mass. I think I had 10 in the tank at the time. Okay. Big structure in the middle. No real issues. I think I had a few Synodontis cats just to help clean up the bottom. No
Sure.
issues. And it's a different vibe. It's not, they don't have a ton of color, right? They just gain this big yellow stripe down them and whatnot, once they
Sure.
get a little bit bigger. But they're cool and they're active. And I didn't have any, aggression issues unless you want to start mixing other fish with them. Now, by the way, you don't want to do that for Tropheus tanks. Tropheus are one of those fish where if you're looking and doing like a species only tank, you want to make sure that's the tank to do it in. Like, I don't know a lot of people. I know a few people probably mix them. I never had much success outside of that. But if I kept just a Tropheus tank, and we did Duboisi, I've also done the Firecracker, Maleros. I've done a few different kinds. I was really big into them for a little bit.
Are those, the Tropheus, are those the yellow and black? Yeah.
So there's a couple. So I don't know regionally. So you have the Duboisi, the original Duboisi, which they'll get the white stripe, and then the Maswas will hit the yellow stripe when they get bigger. So they're solid black with just a yellow stripe. And then you have some other ones. They get the red stripe, and they're the Bimbas. You get
there's a yellow and black Tropheus that I wanted to do a species tank for my classroom, because our colors are black and gold, and
nice.
Tropheus embodies black and gold. And I can't remember which one it is.
They call it yellow banded. There's a few names for the different ones out there. I just call them the Maswas because that was the one that gave the yellow stripe. I hope, the yellow stripe. When they're small, they're just black with white spots, and as they get bigger, they'll develop that black color and just the yellow stripe. I don't know if the yellow banded is the common name for that, but I always call them the Maswas.
I was looking it up. Neolamprologus? No.
Nope, different fish.
No, that's all different fish. Yeah.
So anyway, some ideas for that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, so I have another. This is a different little segment of the podcast. It's
the Kirza. Kiriza.
Oh, the Kirizas. Yeah.
Kiriza. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit different one.
Yeah,
those are nice. I've never kept those personally, but we brought them in via transshippers or something over the years. Not a lot. We don't bring in a ton of Tanganyikans. They're not super popular, to be completely honest. Like in the hobby as a whole, like everyone has their niche that they like, right? Everyone has a different group of people. Like Peacocks, people like certain Haps, people like just Mbunas, and you have a whole group of people that just like Tanganyikans, a whole group that just like Tropheus. Like,
sure.
It's kind of like to each their own, right? You find something you like, you want to learn more about it. Got a whole bunch of like regional information about all these different fish. It's pretty cool to see. All the different little, I don't know, niches of different people who like to keep certain things, and a whole group of people like, I like to keep that fish too. I don't know. I really like that that aspect of the hobby, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. So we'll have a little bit different segment. This is going to be a little bit more pointed question and answer. It's called Your Aquarium Questions Answered, or YAQA for short. So I'm going to give you a few short answer questions. And I'll basically, these are some questions that people have asked. People don't, they're just breaking the hobby. They're like, these are some basic questions they're looking at, and kind of answer them best way you think.
All right.
Ready for that?
All right.
Let's go. There's not a lot. So let's go. Let's go with the first one. The first one is, how many African cichlids can you keep in a 30-gallon aquarium? And by the way, people, this is a very common question asked. I had to look for it. I used some analytics behind the background. I think this question gets asked over 500 times a month based on some calculations. What do you think about that?
Like 3.5? I don't know.
Yeah. It's cut in half, please.
If you're looking at a 30-gallon, you're pretty much not looking at an African cichlid. I mean, the only one you could probably even attempt would be Mbunas. But you know what? I think I know why that question's asked is if they put in African cichlid, then they're they have a big general question, like, you wouldn't keep many Haps in there. You're not going to keep too many Peacocks in there. You can probably keep a few Mbuna in there for a little while before they start going berserko. And I think another reason why maybe that question is because people have been told to overstock their tanks, but they probably haven't been told to overfiltrate.
Yep.
And so that goes wrong fast. And they probably haven't been told which to overstock.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you get it's a really delicate balance of overstocking and filtrating and also picking the right species of African cichlid.
Right.
30-gallon. If you got some juvies, knowing what I know, but if I was a newbie, you're probably going to end up buying 6 out of the store and putting them in a 30 and thinking that that's going to rock. You're going to wait a couple of months and those fish are either going to get big or one fish is going to take them all out. And you're going to figure out, like, what the heck happened.
Yep.
So not the best tank for African cichlids. If I had to answer, 4.5. I don't know.
That half fish is very important. There's a couple, I don't know. I think there's a couple ways you could put it. If you're going to get juvies like you're talking about, right? And this is maybe like a temporary solution. Like, I want to get these. They're small still. Like, you can still get some Mbunas that are like an inch, right? You still have some stores that get them an inch. Hey, I got a 30-gallon. I'm getting a 50 next week, right? Something like that. And this is a temporary solution. I don't think that's a huge issue, right?
Yeah.
But but putting them in and thinking long term, I'm going to keep these in a 30-gallon tank, I don't think that's smart. And just like Biz mentioned, if you overstock them in that tank, one, the aggression is going to get too much because the space isn't enough for them to do super well in, right? And then your water changes and water quality parameters from that fish gets bigger is going to be swinging up and down. And there's just, granted, they can tolerate a lot of water quality, parameters. They can tolerate some bad water, right? In general, most Africans can. I don't know a whole lot that can't, right? But it's not going to be best case scenario or best practice, I guess.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Next question. What does a pregnant African cichlid look like?
Did a video on it. I called it a throat baby. Throat baby. A pregnant female African cichlid has the throat down to their chest. Throat baby.
Oh my God. I'm putting that up on. That's going to be. I'm just going to put those 2 words on the thumbnail for this video, just so we're clear.
Save this space when you say it.
Oh, done. I'll mark it 43 minutes in. That's what I'm putting on the cover.
Yeah, so female African cichlid, when impregnated, will not have a big belly, but will have big jaws and a deep throat because she holds the babies in her gullet. And she turns those eggs and turns them until they hatch and they become fry. And once they have hatched and become fry, she'll have her mouth puckered. She won't eat anything. So that's how you know you have a female that's holding. You'll pour food in there. She'll stray away from it. She'll look like she wants it, but she'll get out of the way very quickly. You'll see her around the Décor. She's very chill. She doesn't want to get riled up. And once those babies have hatched and she can hold them no more, you'll see her mouth moving. When she does the little pucker, you'll see little eyeballs in there. And you'll be like, whoa, what is that? And then she'll spit the babies out. And I guess maybe for a couple of weeks, maybe she'll take care of them. Whenever she feels that they're in danger, she'll suck them all back into her mouth back to big throat, big jaws, big throat. And then when the coast is clear, spit them back out again. All right. And they're already free swimming. So if you are going to breed them, they'll breed on their own. They're very good at it. They'll do it quite often. You will want to put your female in I have one right here, in a breeder box of some sort so that she can spit those babies. And then since they're free swimming, they're good to go. You could take her out, put her back in the general pop so that she can eat because she hasn't eaten since she's held those babies. So yeah, but that's what she looks like. Throw baby.
Oh my God. I'm totally putting that. It's going to be a picture of you in that pose. And that's going to be on the thumbnail. I'm going to say nothing else about what the video is about. Click on it if you want to know more. Click to know more. But yeah, man, I like, I don't think about it this time because when we keep cichlids here on the farm and do stuff, like we typically very rarely let her hold much past when the babies are still eating on the yolk sac.
Oh, okay.
So we'll actually hand strip the fish.
Sure.
So we'll pull out the females, we'll strip them, put them in essentially like what would be a breeder box. We put them in what they're called McDonald's hatchers. They're like cylindrical acrylic jars, essentially with some water flow to keep them. If they happen to be eggs and they're shipped too soon or something, they'll be in a tumbler, right? But for the babies, we'll put them in a little separate container, a little bit of air, and they'll eat on that, egg yolk for, I don't know, 5 to 7 days, I guess, depending on how long it's going to be. But I just never thought about keeping them, if you have them in your normal aquarium setup and they spit them out, I'm sure they're eating them up in most of your aquariums for the most part.
But you know what? For beginners, stripping a fish I did it. It's a very overrated experience. Just grabbing the fish and just trying to hold its mouth open. I took a small little paper clip and just was like, just get the babies out of it. You know what? Just keep them. You know what? I'm in no rush. I'm not selling fish like that. So
yeah, no, I didn't mean that in terms of like, hey, by the way, you've just started this tank. Let's go learn how to strip fish. No, don't do that, please. It's going to take, my God, that's going to cause so much, trauma to that fish. Don't do that. That's something we did here on the farm. I just never, some things when I haven't kept them, I never thought about it in that terms because we were producing them like that. So anyway, thank you for that great explanation. What a pregnant female looks like. And this will be not similar, but what would one of the next question is, how would you tell the difference between a male and a female African cichlid?
I got it.
Got him?
Hold on. Where is it? Here he is. Hold on. Where is he?
I like it.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Hold on.
I see it. Wait.
There it is.
Yeah,
that's
it's
right.
on the eye.
You die. You die.
I got it.
Get back. Get back.
Oh my gosh. This is just like Orlando all over again.
Dude, that mug been bugging me all podcast. Jeez.
Oh man. All right.
I'm sorry, next question.
Sorry. How do you tell a difference between a male and a female African cichlid?
It's kind of gets simpler with the African cichlids because the most beautiful, colorful ones are normally your males, which is opposite of real society because everyone says that the women are the most beautiful. But no, not in fishes. In fish, the males are the most colorful. The males are the most beautiful. When it comes to OBs, though, it can be a little bit tricky because you have some females that have some nice blotches on them and some nice little coloring on them. But the females will typically be smaller, which also could be a false representation because I've had some big females that I thought were probably males until they started holding. I was like, oh, you're a girl. And also you'll have the males will have a sharp end on their dorsal fin. I'm sorry, on the anal fin, So that bottom fin usually will come to a point, and the females will have a rounded anal fin. But the most surefire way is to vent them, which means you got to take the fish in your hand, flip it over, and you got to find the circles. All right. So the circles that are the same size, boy, if there's a small circle and a fat circle, girl. So those would be the surefire ways. But if you're just kind of eyeballing them and you don't want to grab them, pick them up, if usually amateurs don't want to, or I'm sorry, beginners, or they don't want to grab the fish. I still don't want to grab my fish and fence it. So I go for the color, and then if it has a throat baby, it's a girl.
Perfect. Man, you bring back flashbacks to venting fish. We haven't really vented a ton of fish, but when I was working at the lab, we got in a bunch of purple tangs, and the way we would vent them, because it was hard to tell, is we would take essentially like a tube, and we would insert the tube in there, and the other tube would be in our mouth, and you'd suck just a tiny bit of pressure on it, and then what would come out, you'd put on a microscope slide. And if you see a bunch of wigglers, it's a boy. And then we would tag it as a male. And if we saw, embryos or oocytes, we would be a female.
You would blow the sperm out of the
No. It's like a straw. Like you would pull like it's like a foot-long tube, and we would pull it up like a good inch. And then we like a half inch, and then we would just put it on the slide and push it down and be like, boop, boy, tag, release back. You had to anesthetize. You had to put them under like a surgery.
That's crazy.
We're talking like breeder, like these big old purple tang breeders, like massive. They're probably way expensive. There was probably 50 in that section.
Oh,
I just thought about that. I was like, that's what we used to do, and that's how we officially would tell without looking at them and doing all that.
What did you guys blue juice them to sleep or something? Or
so we used it's a sedative called MS222. Okay. So in industry, it's used as a sedative for mostly for things like this, like you're sexing fish, you got to do something super stressful in the fish. A lot of people, I think a lot of the vets will use it for anesthetizing koi if they're doing a procedure on some of those really expensive koi, right? Sure. And then, not to talk about the downside, but they also use that as a euthanasia practice as well. So it's a humane, ethical way to take care of fish that might be sick and dying, and ethically, right? That's a commercial product mostly. I don't think it's available to just everybody. I don't know though. We had it and we get it here as a farm. So anyway, something to think about. Well, man,
interesting.
I'd like to give you closing thoughts, things you thought we didn't talk about, we could talk about. What did we miss? What did we not talk about forever? I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of things we could still talk about. Anything you want to say? Last little bit of advice for people moving into these African cichlids. What should they look to or do?
It is a very rewarding hobby in itself. You get into Africans, you're dealing with a medium-sized fish. It will lead you into different things. You could go smaller, or you could go bigger. I think African cichlids are great hardy fish to actually start with. And it'll be a good learning curve. I mean, you're not getting wildly expensive. And it's not it's not salt water. You're not just going to spend $300 on a fish just to try it out. They come in beautiful array of colors, different sizes. So you can definitely try it out. And with it being hardier, you can tend to kind of make some rookie mistakes, and you could probably bounce back. And I think that's what the most important thing about fish keeping is when you start off, because no one wants to get a tank and get a filter and get conditioner and get fish food, and you think you're going to have this fish for a while, and it just crashes on you in a week. And then now you're like, you know what? I can't keep fish. I'm done. At least with a nice hardy fish, you might make a small mistake where they could still possibly bounce back, and you can learn from it and then continue your hobby, and go from there.
Nice, man. Yeah. Well, that was very well said. I like that. Yeah, man, this is great. This has been fun. I'm stoked for this. I hope this helps people looking to set up aquariums, some new African cichlid tanks. Hope this is helpful.
Absolutely.
And so I will, just so everyone knows, I'll have all of FishyBizz's contact info and where his channel is in the show notes and description below. So feel free to check that out. And yeah, that's it. Hope you guys had fun. Hope you guys had fun listening to it. It's a good time. Biz, man.
Throw baby.
Oh, man. It's definitely going on the thumbnail. Definitely going on the thumbnail. Well, I appreciate it, man.
Hey,
And I'm
fun,
sure this
man.
will not be the last time at all.
For sure.
So,
you already know, man. A blast with you every time, man. Every time.
Same. So much fun.
Happy fish keeping.
Yeah, man. I will see y'all later. Have a good rest of your day. Later.
And the wet stuff is the best stuff.